Hello and welcome to Two Hopes Garage. My name's Jace. Thank you very much for joining us. W126 today. We get the brake calipers off the front that are looking a bit scabby, old and tired, and we turn them into something resembling this, and hopefully it might even be serviceable and not leak all over the place. So without any further ado, let's get into the front brakes. Grand.
Obviously the suspension's stripped out in this. I've had the caliper hanging here for some time. I've had Croyle soaking into the union, and we'll see if we can get that off. 1, 2, 3. There she blows. Ordinarily I'd give some stern advice about the twisting of the pipe, or the hose. However, in this instance I don't care, because it's getting replaced. Get that just dribbling in there. We'll get all this hardware out. We've got the sensors, clip, and a couple of pins holding the pads in. They run through from here through to the other side, and we'll give them a bit of a hit. Just fantastic. There's one out. Two. I'm trying to remember what all we've got in here. We got some Delphi pads, so there you go. They're aftermarket. They've been replaced, as you would expect, as the vehicle's got 105,000 miles on it. Piston and seal, etc. is looking a wee bit sorry. I'm sure the piston will, well, we'll see. We'll get it all apart first. We'll get it cleaned up partially first, and see how it looks from there. Grand. Right, we're going to go with plan B. Let's split it and get the pistons out after it's split. Lovely, there's one. Looks okay. 2, question is, are they the same length? 3, the impact socket's too thick to get on there. So for this one here, and probably for this one here, because the casting is quite close to the bolt, I've been unable to get the impact socket on it, and in all honesty was unable to get a standard socket on it without hammering. So it wasn't pretty, but it seems to be working, and I've used a fairly substantial long-handled ratchet to get this one out. What I'm going to do is, I think we'll leave that one in loosely for the moment. This is not pretty, I'm afraid, but it's what I had to do to make it work. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Let's see if we can get this undone. There we go. Grand. So I think before I split it, I'm going to take it out of here. What I don't want is let's take that last bolt out, and then the caliper falls to the ground beneath me. I'll close this up again. There we go. Oh, you can feel it loose already. And bolt. Looking not bad. Last but by no means least, this one here, and there we go. One brake caliper and 2 halves. O-rings. Yeah, they look slightly gubbed. Brake fluid, possibly my least favourite of garage fluids. This port here, I don't know if you can see that, it's pretty gummed up looking. So that's not been completely effective. Had I put that back together again. There we go. And that one there. So as you can see with this one, the piston, I managed to get the piston partially extended. However, that's as far as that one's going. So what I think I'm going to do is tap it back down into its housing and have another wee try. So to that end, we'll get a wee bit of wood and give it a wee gentle tap. Yeah, it's on its way down. So, back in a bit, and we'll give it another wee blast. Here we go. Gently. I think that's us. Fantastic. Obviously, when you're carrying out that step, have the appropriate PPE on. I think we're going to get, I'll take the seal off. I think that's possibly holding it in. Amongst other things. Rust and 30 odd years of that position being not the least of them. Let's do a little bit of oil, like so. Tap it back into place again and see how we get on. Instantly displacing all the oil that I just put in there. Right, I thought this was perfect time to execute plan B. This had started leaking and I wasn't getting a terribly good seal on the port for the hose there. So I've put the hose on, what's left of it. It was a bit stuck in the car, so I've snipped that off. It's getting replaced anyway. Put a clamp on there. I'll pop the speed tape off of this bit. Obviously I've tapped the piston back in with some more WD-40 and let that sit for a wee while. I'll pop this on here, try a wee bit of air down the port, see how we go. That's the point, you make sure you've got your PPE on. Yeah, piston's on the move. There we go. So this one was a wee bit reluctant to come out. There's our piston. Let's give that just a quick initial wipe. It doesn't look too terrible. I think it would benefit from a bit of a clean, but that's okay. It'll get a bit of a clean. Let's have a look in the bore. I'll hold this up and we'll tilt. So, yeah, again, it looks a wee bit manky. I'll give that a wee quick blast with a brake cleaner. Not pretty in there after 34 years. Let's have a quick look. See how it looks. Good grief. Yeah, that's going to benefit from a bit of Scotch Brite and some cleaner. And we'll see how this one looks. So we'll give it an initial clean. You can see the ring in there as well. Let's get a wee pick in here and see if we can get our seal out. There we go. Yeah, we might replace that.
Bear with us for this small painting interlude. So there's our calipers now that they've had a bit of paint on them. They've come out okay, they're not perfect, but they're a lot better than what they were. This one's still got these things in, earplugs to stop the paint going down the holes. Inside, they're not bad. They could be better. Let's put the light up a wee bit here. So on this one, I don't know how much the camera's picking up, but the bore itself is not bad. There are a couple of, let's see if we can pick it up. There's a couple of areas just there where there's a little bit of pitting in the bore. However, as that is under what's effectively the working area, I'm going to go with that and see how we go. So the pistons actually come up okay, if we can get it to focus. It's cleaned up reasonably well. Base of it, no issues. Top of it, a wee bit of mechanical damage along there. Also, so the working area of the piston's grand, apart from barely noticeable 5 little bits of pitting up at the top edge there. That's so far up and on the edge, I'm not really concerned about that. Likewise, as you can see, there's quite a lot of pitting around this area here. However, that's out of the swept area and that just sits, or that's just a groove to locate the seal. So I'm going to go with that. Should I have bought a new piston? Possibly. However, the bore's got a bit of wear as well. I think these will be okay. There was pitting along here. Once again, that's not within a swept area, so I'm going to be happy enough to go with that. One thing that I did get, I was going to slap this together with some brake fluid, and I've got the ATE Classic kit, which has its own issues. We'll go into that in a moment. And with that came the instructions. And the instructions said to get some of this stuff, brake assembly paste. So I've got the ATE, I don't know how you want to say that, brake assembly paste. So we're going to use that. And what it does say is to smear a bit round the bore of the piston, or round the bore of the cylinder even. Little bit in where the seal's going to go, so pop a wee bit of that in there as well. So we've popped some of this, and I believe it's a corrosion inhibitor as well. So we've popped some of that in the bore. Next thing is we'll get our brake cylinder seal from our ATE brake kit. There's the number there. I thought I was doing well by buying the ATE brake kit for doing my ATE brakes. What I didn't realise, ATE do not like you to split these. And for that reason, they don't include the seals here. So to buy another kit, I'd bought that kit quite some time ago. I had to buy another kit to get these two seals. So that's our brake cylinder seal, and we're just going to pop that in the edge here. Make sure it's nice and square, not twisted. I would say that that's looking grand. Next up, what I should be doing, I believe, is dropping this into the bore. However, once it's in the bore, I need to put the dust seal on. So I'm going to be controversial, and I think I'm going to pop this dust seal on first. The ATE instructions also say pop some lube on your piston. Sorry about the focus. Always pays to oil the machine. The other thing it says to do is lube the inside of your
dust seal. So we'll do that. This being the inside, this being the outside. So I'm going to pop this over the piston, like so, and just make sure it's nicely located and centred, which it would appear to be. At A tell you to make a 20-degree template up for lining up this item here properly so that your heat shield goes on in the proper orientation. Well, I tried that and I can only get the heat shield on in one orientation that looks sensible. So to that end, I've marked a couple of wee lines there in red with which I'm going to line these two items here up, put the heat shield on when it's in that position. I've done a wee trial fit and it looks fairly sensible. So we're going to go with that. However, like I say, I'm no expert in this. This isn't this is not a how-to video. Really, this is me documenting all my mistakes. So further down the line, I can, I'm just going to put a bit of grease on there as well, so that further down the line, I can see what I did previously and avoid doing it again. So yeah, the manual also says, well, not the manual, the instruction leaflet also says to lube this bit here up. So we'll lube that bit there up. And we'll drop our piston in with the lines corresponding to the high points on the piston. It also says that this should just drop in nice and easily. Now we've got our seal in, but I've come to the conclusion that if you just keep it nice and square and test and adjust as you're pressing it down, that actually goes in okay. I might need to speed up this footage. It's going in slowly, but it's going in surely. Don't call me Shirley. Smashing. So that's that down. Now what we can do now is just push that dust shield. Hopefully my lines, I had to put that wee extra one on there because I realised the other one we covered once the dust shield goes on. Hopefully my lines are just about there, so the heat shield should be okay. I'm going to put a wee bit of assembly lube in there again, just to stave off corrosion. That's what it says there, so I'm just going to go with what they're saying. So our piston's in, internal seals on, dust boots on. Next thing is the heat shield. So there's our heat shield. This one looks slightly the worse for wear, and it's not been refitting. It came through the post like that. Got a couple of wee kinks in it. However, let's go with that. So this bit here locates into this bit here, with this here going into the cylinder, or into the piston rather. It's got a lip that goes up, and this is, I'm not quite getting this wee lip here. I'd have thought it'd have turned down, but it doesn't. And it doesn't look well suited to turning it down either. So that should just locate in there quite nicely. There is a tool for doing this. I do not own the tool for doing this, so I'm just going to have to wing it a wee bit. I'll do a little bit of tapping. Which kind of works. The lines have been worthwhile there, because that's pretty much lined up with where it should be. So that one is G to G. Now, whether you're meant to knock this bit down, I'm not sure. I wouldn't have thought so, because that bend in there, when you turn it the other way, it's going to end up snapping. So, yeah, I'm not entirely convinced about that. However, the heat shield is in place. So we'll go for more of the same on this one. So it looks okay. It's not amazing, but it's an awful lot better than it was. This one here, the piston itself was pretty good, apart from, once again, hopefully you're getting that, all the pitting around the seal channel. But again, as that's an unswept area and doesn't do anything other than retain the seal, I'm going to go with that, and we'll put some assembly paste on there to help stave off further corrosion. My main issue, there's no pitting on the working area of the piston at all, so that one was grand. My main concern with this one, this part was a bit better. There's a bit of pitting there, but again, that's just where the dust shield sits. I'm not over fussed about that. So as you can see with this one, I get pitting around that seal channel. However, we also had just above the fluid ports there, a little bit of pitting that you can actually feel on the cylinder wall, and round on this side of the cylinder, a bit of pitting there. You can't actually detect that with your fingernail. It looks worse than it is. As it's sitting down at the bottom portion, and probably outside of the effective swept area, I'm going to go with that. If it leaks, I'll get a new caliper. If it leaks and it's all a disaster, we'll get a new caliper. But we'll go with that. I think it's going to be okay, so we'll just roll with it, and if it's not okay, we'll get another caliper. So once again, I'm going to clart up everything in the old assembly paste and be reasonably generous. It is compatible with DOT 3, 4 and 5.1 brake fluid, apparently. So that's always good when you're slapping it on round the inside of the brakes. So wipe that excess off and apply it to here. Right, as you can see, there's a couple of hastily applied lines. I'd forgotten to line this one up prior to assembly. I have put some paste on our piston seal, and we'll just run that one gently into the housing, making sure nothing is twisted. I get a lot of assembly lube in there. One thing you want to do when you're working on your brakes here is keep your surface nice and clean. Pop that on to our piston, making sure it's nicely seated all the way around. And chasing yourself on the way. That looks good to me. Right, so we'll pop the piston into this one. Learning has taken place here. This one, the dust seal was not wanting to locate. I think I had a wee bit too much assembly paste under the dust shield, and I was effectively getting a hydraulic lock when I was trying to put it in place. So hopefully this time will be better. I had to get a wee bit of air, pop the piston back out again. It seems to be sealing nicely, so that's good. I'd say that's pretty close. Gentle tappy tap. Beautiful. All nice and flush. So what we need to do next, these two ports that contain the seal have been cleaned up and they're ready to get the seals put on. Now, this ATE kit, I bought this thing ages ago. so I couldn't return it for a refund. It doesn't contain the seals for this, so I had to buy one of these. Now I fitted the ATE bits because they do look a wee bit better. Heat shields, a bit different, as you can see. It's just got a cut out there rather than that lip. What it does have though is what's absolutely crucial. We do have our little seals there. So, you know what's happening next? A little bit of assembly paste. Just a wee bit. Just to hold these seals in place. So these look like they've been leaking. You can see some darkening of the surface there. They also look like they've been split at some point as well. There was a fair few scratches in there. However, the surface seems to be reasonably smooth. So we'll go with that. If it leaks, we'll get another one. I'm hoping it won't, because there's a few quid invested into this, not least in paint. If anyone's wondering, I used that stuff, Genelite brake caliper paint, and sprayed that directly on top of Genelite rust converter, which puts down like a kind of a clear epoxy. Is it going to be any good? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully. I'm not sponsored by Genelite either. Nobody sponsors me. So we'll get this one. Right, we're going to film this. We'll get this one and sit it gently on top of this one. Taking great care. Ooh. So the bolts are 15mm. I'm using the original here. One of them's got a wee bit of damage, but it should be okay. Always starting by hand. Make sure you're not cross-threading them. So at the moment I'm just going to nip them down. Once again, starting everything by hand. So I've been trying to find a reliable source of information regarding the torque figures on these, and I'll be honest, I'm struggling. A couple of Alfa Romeo sources. Now the Alfas also use the ATE calipers, and they say to torque these to 24.5 Newton meters. I guess Mercedes or ATE does not want you to split these calipers. So we'll go to 24.5 foot-pounds. That seems quite a sensible amount for the size of the bolt. It's about 33 Newton meters. So we'll torque it up in stages. I'm going to 17 initially. 17 on that and that. Let's pop this down here for a sec. That one. And that one. Then take it up to its full value of 33 Newton maestros. Yeah, I'm going to pop these in the vise, but I will be torquing them up to 33 Newton meters. So we're just about there. It's back out the vise, as you can see by the vise marks on the, well, it's actually a bit of masking tape covering the holes while I was painting. They're torqued up, and that leaves me with, I've got the bolt that was used to keep the anti-lock brake hardware on. I'm just going to, I've given that a little bit of a clean, not much. I'm going to keep that in there, just to know, so I know where it is. So I was finishing editing with this thing in place because I was waiting on parts, and I managed to get from Autodoc about as close as I could get in size. see it's a few mil bigger there. One of these, there's the number there, quick break, made in Denmark for reassuring quality, I hope. There's the numbers, and I just need to pop that in. Start it off by hand, as always. Now, I don't have a torque for this, but you know yourself, you just nip up the bleed screws. Reasonably snug. Oops, excuse me. And that'll do. It's going to get undone again for the bleed, so it's grand. That's that for the moment. And yeah, next stop is once we get this fitted, we'll get the hardware on, pads on, and at some point get it all bled through. Grand.
So that's the front calipers done on the Merc. Well, at least the driver's side. I'll do the passenger side off camera. Loads more content coming up in this, and what it's going to be is going to be as much of a surprise to me as it is to you. But keep your eye out. There's plenty to come on this. Plenty to come. Also, have a wee check out of the Camaro content, should you so desire. And aye, that's it for just now. Thanks very much to our old subscribers, as always, for bearing with us, and welcome to all our lovely new subscribers. Every subscriber is still a celebration, as I'm one of the smallest YouTube channels out there. So, aye, until the next time, all the best. Thank you very much. Cheers.